everybody. So the first thing I want to say is thank you for your patience. Clinical placement is always very difficult. We are always struggling to hang on to our preceptors and clinical sites. It's even much more difficult now because, when you think about who employs the most midwives and nurse practitioners, it's usually Kaiser. So Kaiser was our biggest clinical site, different locations in Southern California. And recently they started their own medical school. So they cater to their medical students before they would accept our midwives. So it's made things even that much tighter to find placement. And then another layer of that is willing midwives and nurse practitioners that are going to accept students. And it's the most ridiculous thing. There are quite a lot of midwives and nurse practitioners that just don't want to accept students, which I don't understand. Because somebody accepted you for your preceptorship, why wouldn't you do it for somebody else? The unfortunate thing also is the clinical sites used to give preceptors reduced schedule if they were precepting, and they've stopped doing that, which makes it even harder for the midwives and the nurse practitioners to take students because, like it or not, students do slow you down because they have to stop and explain things and do things slower, which slows them down. So that being said, that's the main reason you haven't found out about your clinical sites yet. And then when I thought I had everybody placed, then I get a call from somebody that says, I'm sorry, I'm going to have shoulder surgery, so I'm not going to be able to take your student after all. Then back to the drawing board and blah, 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 blah. So I think I finally figured it out. I want you guys, so this is your primary care rotation. So ideally, where I would want you guys to be is in primary care clinics. There aren't too many of those. Another stipulation is nurse midwives and nurse practitioners have to deal with nurse midwives and nurse practitioners. So it makes it difficult to place you in primary care sites where they usually have physicians, some FMPs if you can ever find them, and if they're willing to accept students. So bear with me. And I encourage you to make the very best of where you're placed. For some people, it may not be the most ideal. Hang in there and make the very best of it. There's no guarantee. I'm almost certain that where you are now for spring is not where you're going to find yourself in fall. Because then in fall, I'm going to try to find you a most ideal antepartum and intrapartum site that you would learn better from. Okay, so for this semester, spring semester, you would need 135 hours. I give you 9 hours for each day you're in the clinic. And that's just given the extra 30 minutes in the morning to go in and review charts, and 30 minutes after clinic is done to complete your charting and talk to your preceptor about how the day went, kind of stuff. So you can capture 9 hours for each day, which means you need 15 days to capture your 135 hours. So Stephanie is not here. Okay. So Peyton, I have you at Platinum Women's with Tanya Nolan. Kimberly, St. Joseph, and the clinical placement will be contacting you and giving you more information, but I just want people to have an idea because I've gotten a lot of questions. So I'm like, okay, I'll give you idea of where you're going to be. I pray to God that this doesn't change anymore but it's not a guarantee until you get there that someone is not going to call me up and say, I'm so sorry, I changed my mind, I can't take your student, in which case I will always try to find you. Of course, I will find you someplace else. Fingers crossed that that doesn't happen. But I don't have much control over whether that happens or not. It's up to the preceptors. So Kimberly, you're going to St. Joseph with Dr. Dragoo. I don't know if you guys have met Dr. Dragoo. She may not be the exact person that's going to precept you, but she's the lead person there and she'll put you in the right place. Umara, you are going to Kaiser Permanente, Woodland Hills with Angela Struth. You may be able to stay with Angela till the end of your schooling because she's just that great. She usually likes to continue with students. She teaches well, she's awesome. So we'll see how that goes. So you may be able to stay at your site. And you have two sites, and the reason being that I had you at Clarice Health. She's one of the ones that called me and said, hey, I found another job. I think I'm going to be leaving Clarice Health towards the end of January. So I still have you there in case she doesn't leave. But you also have St. Joseph with Dr. Dragoo. And Courtney, I had you at Kaiser Permanente West LA with Monica Vieira, who is a great preceptor and a good friend of mine. However, after this was all said and done, Monica was another one that sent me an email that she's going to be gone in January and part of February. And you may not be able to start with her until like the end of February, beginning of March. So I also have you going to St. Joe with Dr. Dragoo, so you don't lag behind on your hours. Stephanie is not here. She already knows where she's going. Samantha, I have you also at St. Joe with Dr. Dragoo, and I'll explain that more in a second. Suki, I have you at Dr. Ackerman's office with one of his nurse practitioners. And again, clinical placement will be talking to you more. Abigail, I have you at KP Ontario with Dr. Ola Obidi. I believe she's a family nurse practitioner. Hannah, I have you at St. Joe. And Teresa, I have you at Obria Clinic. Dr. Anzaldo is the owner of the clinic, and you'll be with one of the nurse practitioners that work there. Obria Clinic is an underserved clinic. I think you'll really enjoy being there. And Sarah, I also have you with Dr. Anzaldo's clinic. It's a different clinic in Santa Ana. No, Obria is in Santa Ana. This other clinic is in Orange, in the city of Orange, I believe it is. And you'll be with one of the nurse practitioners in the clinic. Did I miss anybody? No? All right. Go ahead, tell me how horrible this feels. How are you guys feeling?
I'm actually feeling kind of excited. And I'm also very, very thankful that you found a place that was close to me because I was very worried about travel. So I know it's
not going to be there for long because once we get into the core midwifery courses, that's not going to be a good site for you. So you may end up having to drive.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But
Okay.
I appreciate all the work that you've put into it to find us these sites because I know, like you said, it hasn't been easy. So
It
I'm
is
very
very
thankful.
tough. So I appreciate your patience. I understand totally the anxiety with your schedules and what's going to happen in spring and how's clinical going to go. What are we going to do? So I totally have a good understanding of it. I wish I could make things a whole lot easier than they are. Um, I just have so very little control on how things go. I beg and I plead and I cry, and so I appreciate your patience, and I'll do my best to make things as easy as possible for you. Graduate school is difficult enough. We don't need to add to your stress.
In terms of specific scheduling, Professor, how accommodating are these clinical sites with like actual days that
So
you'll be going?
this semester, spring semester, is going to be a little easier for you guys, but because they're clinics, they're open 5 days a week. So it makes flexibility a little easier, right? Because you can go Monday, Tuesday, or you can go Wednesday, Thursday, or you can, right? So these people are generally there 5 days a week. Where I worry is, for instance, the person that's not going to be there January, February, and will be there in March, or the person that's, I'm going to have shoulder dystocia and I'm sort of shoulder dystocia. Shoulder surgery, and I'm only going to be there. I'm not going to be there for 4 weeks. I'm not going to be, so that's where there will be issues. But flexibility, the clinic is generally open Monday through Friday. The KP people, though, because the people you're with, let me see, KP Woodland Hills is Angela. Because they're midwives, they're doing intrapartum and antepartum. You're not in the hospital with them yet. You're in the clinic with them. So they're not in the clinic 9 to 5, 5 days a week, right? They may do clinic on Monday and they're in the hospital on Thursday and back to the clinic on Friday, right? So that will make flexibility a little more difficult for you guys. So that would be the person that's going to Mara. And with Abigail going to Ontario, Ola is the nurse practitioner. So she's going to be in the clinic 5 days a week. So, that should be a little easier for you. Where's that other KP? West LA. Well, West LA is not going to be there January and part of February anyway. But when she is there, she's also a midwife. So I'm not sure how many days she'll be in the clinic, which is why I gave you 2 sites so that you can make up whatever you're missing at KP West LA. You can make it up at St. Joe. So the way it usually goes at St. Joe is Dr. Dragoo has, I think, 4 areas that she usually have you guys rotate at. It will be the pelvic floor clinic, the diabetes clinic, the triage, and one other place. So she'll have you at these different places learning different things. So she'll work with you on that as we're going on. Yes, ma'am.
If she has like multiple of us, will we have to work like together to schedule time that is available
No.
to her?
So the way it's happened in the past is, let's say Hannah is in pelvic floor this week, he'll do maybe a week or 2 at pelvic floor, and then she'll move you to diabetes clinic, and the person in diabetes clinic will go. So she'll have you go to different of those sites to learn different things.
Okay, so we're not like all necessarily with her the entire time. She's putting us into the clinics.
Exactly. So she's not, you may be with her at the pelvic in the diabetes clinic and with one of the other nurse practitioners in the pelvic floor clinic, and so, but she'll be the one that will coordinate all of that for us.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, Sam.
Like, do we wear scrubs? Is it business casual? Do we need a lab coat?
That's a good question. So you want to look professional. what I would suggest, because different clinics do different things, what I would suggest that you do is the first day you go to clinic, like business casual, decent with a lab coat, and then get a feel of how they are in the clinic. If they're good with scrubs, then you can go with scrubs, but always make sure you have lab coat on, excuse me, and you have your badge,
And do you
your student badge.
know if it needs to be a short or a long lab coat, or it doesn't matter?
I don't think it matters now. You just want to look, you don't want to overly expose anything, right? You don't want short skirt, you don't want little cut kind of thing, just like decent business kind of attire. One thing I also want you guys to remember and understand is some of these clinical placements are like long-term interviews. A lot of these places may be the ones that will end up hiring you. And if not, maybe know somebody that's looking to hire somebody, or be the ones that are going to write recommendation letters for you. So try to be at your very best behavior, make the best impression. So, you can reap the flavor of your good work there. Yes, Aggie.
I was just wondering, in the future, can you ever do a clinical where you work? Like if I work at St. Joe's, would I ever be placed there?
I do not have any problems with that. So that's usually the organization's rules. If they don't have a problem with you working there, I don't have a problem placing you there. Actually, some of them only want their employees. They only want people that work there. For instance, Hogue, I'm working on a contract with Hogue, which we've been working on now for about a year. But they have told us right over that they would only take their employees. So I don't have any problem with that. I know KP doesn't want employees working at the same site. So if you're a KP employee, if you work at Orange County, they don't want you in Orange County, but you can go to Fontana, right? Because they don't want that role confusion. So yes, and that's the other thing I want to tell you guys is if you know somebody that's willing to precept you, please let me know. You can be with whomever. Or if you know somebody that's willing to precept, even if you're not going to be with them, please let me know. We need preceptors so terribly. So if you work with midwives, let's say you go to the clinic and a couple other nurse practitioners, they say, I'll take a student. Please send me their name and their email address and I'll take it from there. So I always need referrals for preceptors. Okay. Any other questions for me? Talk to me. Tell me how you're feeling about all this.
Sorry, Dr. Sajobi, one more question regarding scheduling.
Okay.
We just have to do a total of 135 and you guesstimate like that's about 9 hours a week. Can we divide that up
Not
into
9
2 days?
hours. Not 9 hours a week. 15, you need 15 clinic days. So that you could do 5 9 hours this week and 1 next week. I don't care.
Okay.
But at the end of the semester, you're going to need 15 clinic days to make up 135 hours. Does that make sense?
Does it have to be 15 or can we maybe do like 4 hours, 5 hours, but just go more?
Absolutely. Okay. So I broke it down to just kind of make it make sense for you guys. Mm-hmm. So if you do 4.5 hours today, 4.5 hours tomorrow, 9 hours the next day, it doesn't matter to me. As long as you end up with 135 hours at the end of the semester.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I got an email from Christina, I believe, regarding the Typhoon account. And I was just wondering, is that like, does that show our clinical placement or how does that play?
Oh, so at the beginning of the semester, you guys will get like a mini training on Typhoon. Typhoon is where you're going to input your hours. So don't worry yourself too much about that at this point. So that's how we kind of keep tab of the hours you're doing. So at the end of or during your clinical rotation, you'll input all your hours in there. But in the first, I think the first day of class or the second day of class, we'll go through that.
Dr.
Yes, ma'am.
Sajobi, can we expect to start our clinicals the first week of the semester, or will it just
Thank you
depend
for
on
that
our
great
location?
question. Exactly. So now that we have things figured out, I gave all this information to clinical placement today, and they'll start contacting the clinical sites and the clinical preceptors and you guys and telling you this is where you go, this is the information for your preceptor and things like that. So once we get different sites require different things. So there are sites that want you to jump through a million hoops before you start. So as soon as all of that process is done, you can start. We may get them done by the first day of school, but we have like a couple onboarding classes where we, again, talk about Typhon, talk about, things that are expected of you in the clinic, learn a few hands-on things before you start clinic. After that, you can start your clinical. So I pray not. I pray to God not. Some places may take just a bit longer to process whatever it is they need to process, including badges and all of that. Now, on your end, make sure your Castle branch is up to date. So clinical sites usually want your, I don't know, TB test, all the things that Castle branch asks of you, VLS, whatever else, whatever things Castle branch usually ask of you, your license information, those kind of things. So make sure that your Castle branch is up to date, because that's what clinical placement is going to use for your credentialing. So if things are missing, it just delays the process a bit longer, right? So take this time, between now and the end of the semester to make sure that everything that needs to be on Castle branch is on Castle branch. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, I just have one more question. So it sounds like next steps for us is obviously to update Castle Branch, but also to just kind of wait. We're kind of just watching and waiting for those emails to hit with the contact information.
Exactly. So I just finished, well, not just, I spoke with clinical placement this morning. So in the next day, I'm guessing by tomorrow, latest by Monday, you start receiving stuff about, Dr. Sajobi has placed you here, and this is what you need to do now. Here's your preceptor's name and da, 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 da. So you should start receiving that.
And if we don't start receiving that, at what point do you want to hear from us? Like, what point do we become a squeaky wheel? Just so that we know, oh, it's still in the works. We don't need to have our anxiety go through the roof.
So one thing I want you guys to know is I've been where you are, and I understand the anxiety. I don't care when you contact me. If you're getting anxious and you want to talk to me tomorrow, please do. However, give them about a week. If you haven't heard anything, not this Monday, by the following Monday, you can send me a text saying, I haven't heard anything from clinical placement. Then I'll contact them to make sure that they're not missing you in the list or something, there's a miscommunication somewhere. But anytime you guys feel, and I hope everybody has my phone number. Do you all have my phone number? No? Okay, I'm gonna put it in chat. Anytime you have any questions about anything, and anybody that knows me will tell you, I don't have any problem with you contacting me anytime, right? Anything I can do to make this process as simple and easy for you, graduate school is not easy. But whatever I can do to make it as easier for you as possible, that's what I'm going to do. So don't feel like you're bothering me. Okay, so feel free to contact me anytime. Yes, baby.
You had mentioned to wear our IDs. Is that just our student ID card? Do you want us to get a badge reel to put that on our scrubs?
So if you go someplace where you're not required to have a badge, wear your school badge or ID, whatever that little thing you have on. If you don't have one, I think you get it from the library, the school library. I know for sure that KP would have badges for you. They want you to wear their badges. And St. Joe have badges for you. So on the day that you start or a day before you start, you'll have to pick up your badge from there. But if you work at like Dr. Azaldo's clinic or Dr. Ackerman's clinic, they're not going to have the security badge department, right? So you want to make sure that you have your own badge from the school, which helps patients identify who you are.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're very, very welcome. Everybody else good? Yeah? Suki, how you feeling?
A little stressed.
No
Is
stress.
Dr. Ackerman in Orange at St. Joe's?
Yes. Is that where you're going?
Okay, I was like, I've heard of him. I've heard of him. I think he used to work at my hospital.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Suki, I work with Dr. Ackerman, so if you need anything.
Oh, good. You're not likely to be with him. You're most likely going to be with one of the nurse practitioners in the office.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
he's the one that okayed you being there. I think you'll be okay there.
Okay, thank you.
Remember, this is just for one semester. You're not going to be with Dr. Ekman next semester because you're in the NM program, you're going to need a lot of antepartum and GYN stuff. So I'm going to put you with the midwife that can do both intrapartum and antepartum. So this is just for this semester.
Okay, thank you.
Unless you fall in love with him so much, then we'll let you stay there for part of it, and I'll give you a supplemental site. It happens. You start working there, and it's like, I love this office. I'm learning a lot. I'll let you stay there.
Okay, thank you.
Dr.
You're
Sajovi,
very
I have a
welcome.
question.
Yes.
So I had emailed you about getting in contact with one of my NPs. I had talked to the head of the OBGYN. I just haven't heard back yet. I'm going to call tomorrow. So these placements aren't necessarily like set in stone completely if I do hear back from them.
If you hear back and you want to go there, absolutely.
Okay. And they have an NP, and that's who I assume I would be following as I talk to her, but is it okay if we're with any of the OBs?
Yes. So
Okay.
It's not like you can't be with OBs at all, especially in this first clinical rotation. It's not such a big deal. As we're getting into the core NP and core midwife programs, you want to be with NPs and midwives because you want to do NP and midwife stuff. So even then, if let's say you're in the clinic with your preceptor who is a nurse midwife, and Dr. Jones, 2 doors down, is doing an endometrial biopsy, and you really want to go learn about endometrial biopsy, please go be with Dr. Jones, right? So it's not that you can't be with doctors at all, but you don't want to learn to do things the doctor's way. You want to learn things, to do things the nurse midwife, nurse practitioner way. So we want you to be more with them than with physicians.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Do clinical placements for the future have to be in Orange County and LA, or can?
No, you can be anywhere. I have a student right now that lives in Northern California, and her clinical site is in Northern California.
Okay.
So you can be anywhere. If you know somebody, like Courtney just said, if you know somebody that is willing to precept you, I just need to make sure that they're appropriate for you. For
Okay.
instance, they have to have master's degree.
Yeah.
They have to be NP or NM. And that's it.
Okay.
So if anybody has anybody, you don't have to go look for your own site. As you see, we'll find you a site. But if, let's say, your neighbor is a nurse practitioner, oh, come on, I'll precept you in my clinic. Yeah, that's fine, as long as she's qualified and the site is adequate. Yes.
Sorry, last question. You said that this rotation in the spring is really our primary care rotation. So to manage my own expectations, how much time do you think, or what allotment of our experience do you think will actually be GYN or OB at all this next semester? Will it primarily be primary care and we will not be doing reproductive care, or will it
It's
be a
going to be
combination?
all of it. Now, remember, and we'll talk about this more in the semester. Remember that primary care is not, how should I put it? Women's care is not just GYN care, right? So you can have a patient that came to the clinic for vaginitis. Even though that can be technically GYN, that's still primary care. You can have someone that comes to the clinic for, I don't know, pap smear, where she also has hyperlipidemia. And then, you know, the nurse practitioner that you're with does her pap smear, reviews her labs, or send her to the lab to get labs done for hyperlipidemia, and manages her medications. So it's going to be a cross of all of it. So you will see a lot of GYN, but you'll see a lot of primary care in those GYNs. It's not likely to see just someone coming in for asthma, and that's all they're there for. It's going to be, you came in, you're pregnant, but you also have asthma. So we're going to take care of your pregnancy, but let's review that medication you're taking for asthma and how it's affecting your pregnancy. Does that make sense? Or somebody's there for, just like when you go to the diabetes clinic, they'll probably see pregnant patients that have diabetes, and you're managing their pregnancy and managing that primary care problem that they have also. So you'll end up seeing a whole bunch of all of it. Anything else?
Thank you so much for agreeing
You're
to
very
Zoom with us.
welcome.
This is really helpful
Thank you
for
for
us. We have a lot of
meeting with
questions.
me.
Thank you.
Thank you. And from here on, because I'll have you guys in some of my classes next semester, so we'll be having more conversations, and I'll be able to answer a whole lot of your questions. So I know you haven't seen quite a bit of me, but we'll be doing this more often. And again, use the phone number. I'm okay with it. Don't feel like you're bothering me. I will always text you back. If it's something you need right away, put 911 behind it, and I'll take a break from whatever I'm doing and I'll answer your call right away. If it's something that, okay, get back to me at the end of the day, I will get back to you as soon as I can. If it's something that can wait a few days, send me an email. Okay? Miss Samara, I didn't hear from you. Are you good? If you're speaking, I can't hear you.
Hi, sorry. Yes, I'm good. Thank you so much for all that
You're very
information.
welcome. You're very, very welcome. And thank you all for coming. I look forward to getting to know you guys better, and have a fabulous holiday. Even if things go south, somebody says, no, sorry, I can't take your student, please do not stress. It always ends up working out. I will find you a different site where we'll make it work, but this is what we have for now. I pray that it doesn't change, but if it does, we will make it work. So don't stress. Together, you guys will graduate 2024. 2024. Okay. All right.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy your
Appreciate it.
holidays. So that.
Oh, just thank
Did I-
you. Appreciate you meeting with us.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Anytime. You guys take very good care. Have a great holiday. I look forward to seeing you in January. If I need to talk to you before then, please feel free to contact me. Okay. Thank you, Teresa, for putting this together.